General Director of Marketing and Media for ISRA. Good morning, Johannes.
Good morning, it's good to be with you.
Good to be with you again. It's kind of like a regular basis. We've chatted that many times over the past few years since we've launched Merge 104.8, from ISRA to the Muscat Youth Summit, over the previous years, and of course, I guess preparations are well and truly underway for MYS 2014.
Well, it's as you rightly said, it happens, and I think time flies like nothing, and we are already in the midst of putting together the MYS 2014, and obviously what we're going to be talking about Riyada in its second edition.
Riyada 2014, it is the second year that you've been running the very successful summer internship programs. You've got 15 companies. Merge 104.8 is one of those companies. It's a program to bridge the gap between higher education, full-time employment for the young Omanis. Johannes, just kind of give us an overview of Riyada, the internship program.
Riyada, I think, and again, since we're speaking in English, Riyada is more about enhancing that sort of entrepreneurial spirit, and it's about getting up and actually trying something different and having that sort of challenging feel towards trying something different in general. I think what we've realized with MYS since we started in 2009, that we get actually excited about the whole event, and then we've realized that it takes a whole year to prepare for the second and third and fourth edition of the MYS. And we have always been concerned about how could we introduce a link that is relevant and will keep that sort of spirit of MYS and youth going on and sustained. So last year what we said, fine, we spoke to our partners, the strategic partners, sponsors, what would they think about opening their doors to a couple of students from MYS to begin with, alumni that will try to as well now bridge again the gap and get them from what MYS has always been about, from theoretical, etc., to actual practice in those companies. And we actually got a positive, overwhelming response from those companies, and we started last year, if I'm not mistaken, by seven companies in various disciplines and industries, and about 13 to 15 students. So carrying on the success of last year, we decided to broaden the number of companies that should be involved, and as well enhance and increase the number of students. This year as well, we looked at the possibility of not only including alumni from MYS, but as well looking at anyone out there that fits the criteria and is willing to actually be part of Riyada 2014.
Now, what I'm very impressed with, you said about opening the doors and kind of expanding on not just obviously previous MYS participants. You had 300 applicants this year to take part in Riyada.
Yeah, this is a major difference. Last year, what we did, we actually went back to our contact database, and we selected students, or we sent an invitation to the actual contacts that we had, MYS alumni. What the difference is, this year we went online and we advertised on social media, etc., and that explains why the big number of applicants, whether it's people that actually apply because of out of curiosity, or those that are actually very excited and enthusiastic about it as well.
Now, we've got one of your interns. Last year we had 2 interns. In fact, between both of our radio stations, between Al-Wasal and Merge, we actually had 4 interns last year, and they were previously on the MYS, I think the first year of MYS. Johannes, how does Riyada actually encourage youth entrepreneurship?
Before I get to that, I think one of the interesting things, I personally have been criticized when it came to Riyada, in the sense of why are you as ITRA getting involved into something that does not necessarily fit in when it comes to the training and internship programs. There are others that are already doing a lot. My answer to that is everyone is responsible and everyone should contribute. The more the merrier. And I think there are enough young people out there that deserve an opportunity to try. Well, the difference we believe that we can make and we can bring onto the table when it comes to internship programs that we introduce is that we are very selective when it comes to the companies that we'd like to work with. We are very selective in terms of customizing the internship program that would appeal to both the private sector and to the young Omanis. So we do spend a lot of time in not wanting to be perceived as just another internship program, but rather something that one would eagerly look forward to. We do cherry pick, and this is why we spend time in interviewing every single candidate, and then we cherry pick those that deserve that opportunity, and we're seriously looking into our contribution should be in terms of adding to Oman, some sort of value, people that would actually contribute in the future as future leaders, be it in the private sector primarily, private sector or public sector, NGOs, etc. The other angle to it is that we have been banking on our international relationship as well. This year, I've been challenging my team is that how about we speak to some of our international partners? Would they be interested to take young Omanis? And due to the time constraint, I have been recently in Singapore and I've been speaking to a couple of organizations, and they very much welcomed the opportunity of taking around 10 students, and at their expense they will be hosting and covering all the expenses, and they will be giving them a flavor of what does it mean to work in organizations, public and private, and what does competitiveness mean, and what would it take, and how do actually people, for example, in Singapore, strive to be the best in what they do as well.
So this is kind of like an international internship.
This becomes an extension to not only our commitment. Having said that, we realize that we're on our second year, but I wanted to push the boundaries towards what stops us from speaking and testing the water and see if there's anyone out there. We are currently as well speaking to a couple of companies in India, and specifically in areas around Bangalore, companies that are specialized into graphic designing, animation, etc. I'm talking about companies that cater to and work closely with the likes of Hollywood, etc. in movie production. It would be a dream to a lot of young people who would love to get a feel of it as well. The UK and other countries, this is our commitment, is that we're going to expand the program. We want more enthusiastic young people to actually explore the opportunities in Vietnam or as well internationally.
Johannes, I'm going to play a song and then we'll find out from you which particular sectors that you'd actually personally like to see the youth involved in. Coming up next here on Merge 104.8. The second year of the very successful internship summer programs. We've got an intern with us at Merge 104.8. She's joined us actually from this week. Johannes, is there any particular sector that you'd actually like to see the youth involved in?
Going back to how do we actually make the management within IFRA actually understand that Riyada is not something that is different from what it is that we do. We try to very much match it with what we understand the country needs and looks forward to as well. This comes from our experience in terms of dealing with other government organizations, those that actually plan and define the potential sectors for the future, planning as well for the country. So overall, we've realized that, for example, the ICT sector is important, and you get a lot of young people getting into their higher education in terms of ICT, be it on the soft skills. We realize as well media, graphic designing, news agencies, broadcasting is another important area where young people could venture into, manufacturing, logistics, and what have you. So we have some sort of a pool of different industries that we believe could cater to an interesting number of students, and we try our best to match their interests and their line of education with what the private sector could as well. What is interesting is we hope out of this any of those companies might as well consider after the 2 or 3 weeks that they might see a potential in those young people, whereby they might say, we would like to even consider offering them a job. And this is something important. Last year we had a few opportunities whereby we spoke to a couple of students where they, as a matter of fact, have even changed their interest in terms of what could they see as a job, as a future job as well, simply by going and trying something that is different. It is challenging that we find enough companies that would match those industries that we talked about, because it has to come from within. The company has to accept and feel that it is committed towards training young minds. The last thing we want after all this effort is that one goes and is offered a desk in a corner and given nothing to do but just and this is something that we were very clear with right from the beginning. We do our best as well to track at least 1 or 2 of our students as they actually go to the company, work throughout, and then we document that. And our commitment as well is towards acknowledging everyone that went through the internship program. At the end of the program, we acknowledge all the participants, and we acknowledge as well all the companies that as well opened the door and gave us this opportunity. This comes as a value-added sort of service and encourages others to be curious about Riyada and want to come to us and say, we want to be in for next year as well.
What I find quite interesting what you said there then about obviously interns who do go on to sometimes be employed by the company who they've been an intern with. I mean, that happened to me 20 years ago. I kind of a voluntary 2-year internship in my own time. in radio to kind of learn the way and show the skills that I had and that I could evolve. And I was very fortunate enough to get a job and then be able to train on the job, and of course now spent 15 years in the Middle East. It's nice when you can actually take people on board, because I see this with two Omani presenters I have, Sami Al-Asmi, Rumayt Al-Sayyidi, who I've kind of taken under my wing with the rest of my team. And it's great listening to them and watching them evolve and watching them in the office, not just, like you said, sat there in a desk in the corner, just being somebody just to make up the numbers on the employment list, but actually being actively involved as well and watching them learn from their mistakes. We all make mistakes, and it's all about learning from our mistakes too.
As you rightly said, and I think from what I said, I mean, I work with, at least at my department, with a group of young Omanis, both males and females, and I've realized that unless we actually push the boundaries in everything that we do as ITHRA, primarily when working for a department such as marketing and media and international relations, etc., it's important that one gets an opportunity to try something different. And I realized a lot, for so many years, a lot of graduates actually have been so busy with their actually text and books and what have you. And when it comes to realities and they walk into interviews, a lot of them are very nervous and kind of bankrupt from the terms of what is it that I'm adding. And today, as you probably know, organizations are not only looking at the academic achievement, but we're looking at a holistic sort of approach, how the person thinks, what sort of qualities a person has, sort of skills, and what does he or she add to the organization. And such exposure cannot happen unless one gets an opportunity to mix among others in difficult and challenging environments and atmospheres as well. So it's important that through this internship that people actually get themselves out of their comfort zone. It is a comfort zone. I'm actually expected to go on my holiday and go to a company from 8 to 9 or to 4, etc., and I'm expected to actually perform. So we had a lot of people that are a bit skeptical. They were not sure. They want to change their mind, but we always said this is an opportunity. Try it, and you will come out a different person at the end of it. And I've learned that as well through working in this organization for so many years, where we actually were put in very challenging situations. We had to travel, and we were not even told what exactly we should be doing, and we were said, this is the scope of work. Go out there and perform. And I personally learned a lot by mixing with professionals, by talking, by traveling, by listening, and by trying as well. And as you rightly said, there's no right and wrong. We learn from our mistakes, but we should be given the opportunity, and then we should have from within ourselves the commitment towards not only the country and our families, but to ourselves, that we want to actually challenge ourselves to try something different and grow in a field that we probably didn't even discover before.
And we're all constantly learning. Every day, as they say, there's a term that we use called school day. In other words, we're learning something new every single day. I've got a final question for you, Johannes. What is your actually outlook from the second edition of Riyada 2014, the second edition of the internships?
Well, in many ways, I don't want to see Riyada being just another box that is ticked when it comes to what have we achieved this year. And my concern is always with the team. Anything that we plan for, unless it is different, innovative, adds value not only to yourselves but to the people that you work with, to the company, to the country, I don't want to see it. So Riyada to me is going to be a constant challenge. The dream is, let's grow Riyada to be a club whereby companies compete to be part of Riyada and students compete to be part of Riyada. And as I said, it might have been early this year that we started going into internationally, but I think I would like to see more young people passionate, given the chance and opportunity to venture and work with some of the most impressive leading young people internationally, working at very interesting companies, doing a wonderful job. I think there should be consistency, and the challenge would be continuously evolve, just like what we do with MYS and other things. Riyada has to grow in terms of number of students that deserve this opportunity, and more importantly, number of companies that willingly open their doors to actually give an opportunity to young people to get a flavor of what does it mean to work for the private sector, and not any company, those companies that understand that they have a role and a responsibility towards the community, towards the country, and overall economic diversification.
Well, I know that as one of the employees of Merge 104.8, we're very proud to be hosting one of the interns for a second Hope that in the future we can actually host a lot more interns between both of our radio stations and also our print media as well. So it's actually nice. It kind of makes you feel proud when you see people progressing and people using them skills that you teach them. I'm going to go back and use Sami and Rameza as an example. I sometimes listen as a proud father. I'm not a father, but I listen. It feels like a proud father when I hear them do something and I hear them say something in a way that we've kind of taught them. You think, well, they've picked that up from me and they're going to transfer those skills to the future broadcasters.
I have been personally blessed. I have chosen to be involved in many disciplines. I look after the Special Olympics program in Oman. I look after, as a patron, Outer Ban Oman. And at each of those, I think we have been working with young people who have chosen to actually venture into something that is different. They started as volunteers and now they are full-time employment. And every time I sit with them and I see the passion and the difference that they make to other young people, it's very impressive, be it as volunteers, etc. The other thing is, as you rightly said, and this happened actually, very recently, where I met the two young people, and then they said, "You might not remember us, but we just wanted to thank you and the team. We are the 2009 MYS alumni, and this is what we do today, and it has changed our life." And it really does make you proud. As much as sometimes, and my team always laughs at me, it says, "It's never enough to you, no matter what we do." I said, "It's not that. It's when you see such success stories, you always strive to do better. You always want to make people actually not only thank you and give you a pat on the shoulder just for the sake of being nice to you and courteous. They see it, that sort of sincere feeling that they actually appreciated it and it did make a difference." And that's, I think, if we look at it that way, whether it's a company, an individual, government organization, if we're really about Oman and we want to make a difference, there will always be challenges, but I think if we address those challenges in our own capacities and just think, how could I make a difference, we can actually make it grow and make a difference.
It's nice what you said then about the two students who from MYS 2009 came up to you, because I'm always very happy whenever I go travelling, especially whenever I travel back home, and go and meeting up with the people who gave me the first opportunities, the guy who I approached in a venue in 1992, who I then went and learnt a lot from him, and I know that he loves talking to me because he's proud of me, of what he's instilled into me and other people like that. So it's nice, and now it actually makes you think and makes you realise that it is important to give time to the future in every single workforce, whichever business somebody decides to go and work for.
I have a job here and I actually work from 8 to 3 or to 4. I'm doing a specific job working in the government. But I felt I have learned much more, and I have actually earned a lot of interest within myself when I actually decided to venture into being involved in an association to do with intellectual disabilities. What I've learned in that, I came to appreciate much more, because I actually chose to venture into something that is challenging, that is different, and I have learned, and it shaped a lot of my beliefs and the way I look at life, and I look at the challenges, and I look at my responsibility as an individual, as an Omani, towards my society and the people. And I think we all have that responsibility, whether we actually look for it, it's given to us. We all have a responsibility. It might start with your family and it grows from within. It could be at your school. Everyone can define a scope whereby they could actually give back before waiting to be asked to give. I think that's my personal belief. And we as ITHRA, whether it's through MYS, Riyada, in anything that we do, just as you rightly said, when it comes to merge, everything that we do, we feel, no matter how small it is, we are making a difference. And I think giving that extra time where people need to be inspired by others, let it be. No matter how small you might think, those listeners, people who might think that we today here sitting making sense, and we might infuse any sort of passion in them to go and make a difference, we actually managed today, myself and you, to do that, and that's, I think, is a responsibility as well.
Your Highness Sayyid Faisal, thank you very much for chatting to Merge 104.8, and also thank you very much for picking us as a company to be part of Riyada, the internship program.
It's always a pleasure to be with you, whether we are being interviewed or, as you always said, you as an individual and as an organization have always been supporting our initiatives and playing a role to actually communicate our thoughts, our beliefs, our values, our initiatives. Always a pleasure to be working with you, and it's always to see you again and again and work closely as well.